I see our state's attorney here. Let's give our state's attorney, Marilyn Mosby, a big round of applause. Thank you for being here. I know some other elected officials may come in, but this is really about this community, our community. And let me just say this to you all. I'm excited, and the reason I'm excited is because when we opened up the portal in reference to this commission, as you all well know, I issued an executive order and said, you know, we need to reconstitute our LGBTQ commission. And one of the things that I want to make sure is that we're inclusive and we're diverse. And when I did this for the Women's Commission, we opened up our portal and over 100 women applied. And my executive staff said, well, you know, it's only supposed to be 9 or 12 people. How are we going to choose? I said, we don't. When people take the time to apply, then we should be inclusive and diverse and not choose. Because I believe that when people take their time and make the effort to be a part of something, then that means that we ought to make sure that we're hearing from every single person. And so that's why you see the number of people who are in the room, and there are others who have applied, because there are a number of issues that I'm sure that you all can spell out better than I can that need to be dealt with, and conversations that need to be had. And we will appoint a liaison to this community, but at the same time, I want it to be inclusive of every single conversation that needs to be had, every issue that needs to be addressed. So I just want to lay out for you how we laid out the Women's Commission and why I think this is an important process. So we had a similar gathering in terms of numbers of people. And I said afterwards, why don't we send out a survey to everyone who takes the time to show up, and then ascertain their concerns. And so what we did was we did the same thing. We ascertained everybody's concerns, and they actually fell into about 9 different areas. It may become 5 areas, it could become 10 areas. That is not my concern. My concern is that every area is addressed. And so now we're coming back after we've done our survey. We'll send the survey results back out to you all, and then you will decide who chairs each committee in those various categories. That will formulate the board. The board will decide who chairs, not the mayor. I think this is your right and your responsibility. And so I'm excited to bring this group together, but I'm more excited about the outcome, the discussions, the concerns that will take place, and the results from those meetings. Because even when you come together, whether you all decide, and we'll ask those questions too, is it once a month? Is it quarterly? How many times should you come together? If we form committees, how often should those committees meet? And we'll make sure that the appropriate space is available for those meetings. And so I just want you all to know that, you know, you will hear from some speakers tonight, but I'm more encouraged that you all have showed up, because that says a lot about this community, our community, the community of the city of Baltimore. And so I hope you all take time out, as some of you have already done, to use hashtag Pride Promise and do a little video in our video booth in the back. But also I know that we're getting ready to celebrate Gay Pride, and which is one of our big tributes to the city. And of course, I'll be there.
I'll be with you.
Thank you. We've got some weddings coming up, and I won't talk about who. But again, I want to hear from you. The city wants to hear from you. And again, we look forward to the camaraderie and the conversations. So with that, I would love to introduce 2 of our speakers for this evening. Mark McLaurin. So I have to say this to you all. Mark, I know he's like, oh God, don't do that. I won't say I've known him since he's a baby, but almost. His mother, who ran an organization here in Baltimore called Baltimore Reads, was one of my favorite organizations. Before I became a city council person, I volunteered for her, I served on the board for her, and people do not know how many lives that she touched, because enough folks don't know in our city that at that time we had a 38% adult illiteracy rate in this city. And her whole goal and mission was to make the opportunity to teach people to read available to all the citizens of Baltimore. And so for that, I'm forever grateful. And then she produced this great son, Mark, and he has gone on to do just great work. And the one thing I love about Mark is that we don't always agree, but we know how to respectfully disagree. But we agree on more things than we disagree on. But the one thing we do agree on is that this commission is important. The goals that you all will set, the accomplishments that you will make with the support of the city will be because we've all come together. So with that, let me introduce Mark Malloran, and then after that, we're going to hear from Ava Pipitone, also one of my favorite people in the city, who always shows up and shows out and speaks on behalf of many in our community. And we know that discriminatory practices, while we can legislate all we want. We can legislate all we want. But sometimes you can't change what's in people's hearts. But what we do ask people to do is, you don't have to like me, and I say this every day to folks, you don't have to like me, you don't have to love me. Respect. We all deserve respect. And to be treated fairly and equally. That is what we all should be thinking about every single day. I tell people, always put yourself in somebody else's place. I think of it from the homeless to the helpless to the different genders, races, religion in our city. Put yourself in that other person's place. How would you want to be treated? Fairly, just, equally. So thank you all for taking time out of your schedules to be here. But more importantly, I look forward to working with all of you. And with that, Mark Malloran.
You get as many as you want, you know that. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being out on this special occasion, and thank you, as always, Madam Mayor, for your steadfast partnership with this community. I won't go on and on because they said I only got 2 minutes and 30 seconds, but I do want to give 15 seconds to this mayor and her partnership with this community. From the very beginning, from the days of the Baltimore City Council, this mayor has stood with this community. And we all need to be clear that there are a whole lot of elected officials. I'm the political director for SEIU. I work with elected officials every day. There are a whole lot of elected officials that have historically talked the talk with this community. This mayor, this city councilwoman, this state senator, she walked the walk with this community. So thank you again, Mayor. So I was asked to speak for 2 minutes about what pride means to me. And so I started to sit down, and it was really difficult, and I started to come up with some flowery rhetoric that incorporated Stonewall and Bayard Rusted and Fannie Lou Hamer and whoever else I could think of to throw in there to make myself sound studied and scholarly and up to date. But my mother said, and the senator mentioned my mother says, when you're struggling with something about how to answer something, a good place to start is the truth. And so the truth is, for me today, my pride is my presence. The fact that I'm here, mostly clothed in my right mind, comfortable in my own skin, my pride is my presence. And so in a world where the president devalues who I am, both my race, my sexual orientation, anything else I can think of, in a world where the church often asks me to only bring certain parts of me to worship, and in a world where there are a lot of hurting people out here, hurting people, I'm here, I'm present, and that's my pride. Thank you very much.
And now, Ava Pipitone.
Thank you for having me tonight. So I'm here to talk about inclusion. And we're all here to welcome pride into our city. We often say gay pride, and knowing that this falls so very short, we leave out a lot of our family. So what is inclusion? Well, speaking personally, I've been tokenized, and in those moments I've had zero power, right? I'm only here because of a diversity quota, not because you want to learn from my experiences. When I'm included, I have access to the levers of power. My voice is heard, and I can influence decisions being made. When we're all included, those who hold power can share it. And this way we work together to overcome those blind spots and biases that are hurting our city. We can do this. With this establishment of an LGBT liaison and a commission to Mayor Pugh's administration, we'll have a new mechanism for accountability, transparency, and dialogue. Finally, our city administration can know exactly what challenges LGBT entrepreneurs are facing, how our residents are resisting prejudice in our own communities, what's happening on 21st and Charles, what's the difference between sex work and human trafficking, and how are our youth surviving family rejection and systemic violence. We haven't built it all yet, but we know we can do better. We know that Baltimore is not like other cities. And even more, the LGBT community is not like other commissions and other communities. Actually, we're representative of class, race, age, ability, diversities, unlike any other city commission. Therefore, this LGBT commission must be intersectional. Together, let's build a city that's not simply safe and accessible for LGBT residents and sex and gender minorities. Rather, let's build a city where who you love, how you love, and who you are while you grow that love are all celebrated. Yeah. And now, from the moment you get off the train in Penn Station and look up at our statue, to the moment you enter the mayor's office itself, Baltimore will celebrate each and every one of us. Thank you.
All right, let's give our speakers another big round of applause. So here's what we're going to do. I'm trying to figure out how many people are here. Let's say there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so let's say there are 80 people here. And so what we want to do before we leave, and then I want you all to go back out and to take the pictures, and we'll continue our reception, is to know, I want you all to break up in groups of 8. In groups of 8. Can we do that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. So that means we'll have 10 groups. Okay, about 10 groups. And then what I'd like for you all to, in the group, because this is going to be something in terms of how we focus, is to discuss that one thing that you want to make sure comes out in this commission. Okay, so we're going to break up in groups. So we're going to count off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is a group right here. Okay, and then we'll go like that. Y'all need me help you all do this? Let's pull our chairs forward. You all turn around to the group, have a conversation. You're going to have, so we've got about 20 minutes, you all, 20 minutes. Okay. All righty. Time's up. The race has ended. And now it's time to share. Can I ask you all to give yourselves a big round of applause, please? I hope you all enjoyed the interaction as much as I enjoyed watching you all interact. So we're going to let me remind you all, please appoint one person to come and share, and we will collect those ideas. And believe me, I'm sure that we may or may not cover everything, and I'm sure you might hear some repetition, but we will still send out the survey to each and every person that is here, because there may get some things may get expressed and some things may not get expressed. And you still, as you think about this when you're leaving and you're in your own place and your own thought process, may decide there's something else that you want to share. Okay? So again, thank you all, and we will begin with this group. I should say, who's ready? You all are ready? They're ready. Okay. Come on.
So we had eight ideas, but we distilled them to two overarching themes: youth and resources. So number one, we want this committee to support children who've been displaced due to their sexual orientation, to give them real safety, real support. Number two, we'd like to have this organization do some sort of a campaign to help LGBTQ people feel comfortable within themselves, especially children, especially young people, and also with a specific emphasis on minority and low-income communities. We'd also like to work toward cooperation among subgroups within the community itself to have collaboration and also mutual understanding. We'd also like safety in public spaces, safety in general for the LGBT community, and we had a lot of conversation around the diminishment across the board of public space safety, everything from just being able to go out in the street and hold hands, or go to what's supposed to be an LGBTQ themed event in a public space where it really is often a source for harassment. We would like some sort of specific incentives for, oh, sorry. Well, I snuck it in, okay. Youth and resources.
Big round of applause for youth and resources. Next, who's ready? Sandy, you ready? All right. And then we'll go over here.
Hello, everyone. How y'all doing? My name is Sandy. I'm here from Divine Light Incorporated. So me and my group, we talked about three things, so we're going to try to sum it all up into one. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. So the first thing is we need more lawyers who know more about the trans community, where we can have them also fight for a self-defense law, because as myself, I was into something that I was arrested for because I defended myself and I had no help. So, and also, we have this big thing on sex work, and we need more people to offer us jobs, in our community. So we get more lawyers that are open and willing to help us and learn more about our lives, then the self-defense and the sex work and the lawyers all would come together as one. Thank you.
Hello, I'm London Smith Richelieu. And so our group, we decided collectively to tackle housing. Baltimore is a beautiful city that, everyone thinks about our city from these tarnished, rundown homes. But why not go ahead and close in the gap by helping home ownership opportunities where it can help holistically to tackle sex work. A lot of people may want to own homes but don't possess W-2s. So you can't go get a mortgage. But if we incentivize home ownership in some type of way to help communities, it helps with tolerance, because homeowners tend to, of course, you're going to be less violent in your community, and you're going to work together to make changes in your community. Another thing is home ownership also gives you the opportunity. Some of those spaces can help with the opioid epidemic and so forth, and things like couch surfing, which goes on in the community. So people are forced to sex work because they have nowhere to live. So let's holistically attack this with financial literacy. So home ownership helps with financial literacy, and everyone knows that. It's generational. We have that big generational gap, especially in communities of color, because of the the minimization of home ownership. So that's it.
Like that. Who's ready?
So our group did the same thing that you guys did. We came up with a lot of different topics because, you know, our community, Amber said it so well, every letter in the community is very valid and every letter needs to be represented. One of the two things that came out, unfortunately, is education, grades K through 12, how children are identifying, not being trained in terms of the teachers. There need to be some policies and procedures in place in order from the top down, until people recognize that their jobs are in jeopardy and that they have to be consistent and fair across the board. Nothing is getting done with these children in the Baltimore City Public Schools. So some type of policies and procedures for children, and also dual diagnosis. I'm a licensed therapist and addictions counselor, and so if you do not get them and help them at the time that they are in grades K through 12, I will be servicing them as an adult.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jennifer Eden. I'm the program manager of the GLCCB, Baltimore's LGBTQ Community Center. And my group over here in the back, hey group, our top priority was for the city to define what LGBTQ friendly means, to create a citywide standard, and to really hold organizations and agencies accountable for adhering to that standard. Right now, there are plenty of organizations and agencies and people who consider themselves to be LGBTQ friendly, but what that means to one person or one agency is not the same as it means going down the street or to the other side of the city. So we would really love for this commission to standardize what LGBTQ friendly means within the city of Baltimore.
Hi, I'm Dan Morrison. I'm the Vice President of the Southwest Partnership. It's 7 communities within Southwest Baltimore. Our group, we had a lot of overlap, but the overall theme was support, dealing with youth, rejection from family, faith, community, homelessness, employment discrimination, mental, physical health issues, and those with disabilities. Really trying to identify the programs that already existed within the city, but also figuring out the ones that don't exist, and start building on those programs.
Our group had a little bit of a different emphasis. We talked about equitable access to health care. Human Rights Campaign, anyone familiar? Yeah, sure. So the Human Rights Campaign has a healthcare equality index. Has anybody ever checked that site out to see if the provider or the hospital that you see is a leader in healthcare equality index? Mayor Pugh, we have some of the best hospitals in the country, in the world. So the guideline of the HEI is actually, it's a group of best practices, policies, or protocol that institutions, not just hospitals, but clinics, FQHCs across the spectrum of the continuum of care can utilize to ensure that people that are coming into their offices are receiving equitable access in the best possible way that standards can provide that, because we know that people provide that care. There are 3, and I think I'm right, there are 3 organizations that are known as leaders of healthcare equality in Baltimore City: Sinai Hospital, Planned Parenthood, and Chase Brexton. Anybody else I forget? Everybody else know? Okay. Those are the 3 that I think I know. So from that list, there's a lot of folks left off that list, and I think that there's an opportunity for the commission to really think about access and equitable access to care, only if we use the mayor's office as an outlook to take an assessment of where all health facilities stand currently as they are today. That's what we talked about.
Hello, my name's Robert, and our group, we went through a litany of different situations that we thought would need to be addressed, but I think the thing that it came down to is that whatever we do, because this is the LGBTQ community, is that it needs to be action-driven, and we cannot be fearful of what our actions are, so that if they seem to be radical, that we still need to push forward and do those, if it comes from LGBT youth homelessness to the decriminalization of sex work.
We don't follow rules very well, so we brought up 2 representatives. My name is Dr. Venice Folks. This is my wife, Pamela Folks. And our group, well, thank you. Amen. So we have a couple that we're going to share, if that's okay. You start.
All right, I wanted to start with the LGBTQIA social responsibility in the corporate arena. We are sick and tired of being financed by people who are homophobic. Therefore, we need to be more represented in our community so we can learn to support one another. One of the comments was made was sometimes we got to clean up our own house before we want to get out there and teach other people on how to treat us. So how can we build and get out there into our corporate world, financing, loans? We need to bring awareness and let them know, you do not want to support us, we will not support you.
Right. The next one had to do with something very similar to the Urban League that happens for African American kids in the inner city, but it would be for the LGBTQIAA population, where we actually strategically place our children in these career-oriented positions that empower them, that refocus them, that makes them understand who they are and raises their self-esteem.
Thank you.
I have one more. She's taking my paper, but I'm going to say this. There's a divide between LGBTQIA communities and religiosity. I am at Wesley Theological Seminary studying for a master's in divinity. I know that I have a God who loves me, and I know that there's a lot of hurt here. And so one of the things that we have to do in our community is we have to bring back the understanding and the power of God that exists in all of us. Now, whether you believe there's a Jehovah, whether it's Jehovah, whether it's God, whether it's Allah, whatever, you're an agnostic, you're an atheist, whatever it is, we should be able to come together as one and worship something. Amen? Amen.
So I think everyone said collectively what our group was coming up with. So I'm just going to say the one thing that I think we all want to get, and that is an actual commission mayor. So we hope that we can really work with you to be intentional about developing this, so that way we can bring to life a lot of the beautiful ideas that were shared here tonight.
That was so poor. Hello. So my name is Cheryl. I'm here for 2 reasons. 1, I'm gay. And 2, because I'm here to represent the Housing Authority of Baltimore City. There is a stereotype. But the one item I will say that our group, can my group just say hi? Hi. The one thing that we thought was most important is to do a summit. We have a lot of trainings geared towards women with domestic violence, children who are homeless, but I don't see any summits for LGBTQ. So I would love to see a day of training where we have resources and leaders and trainers available to talk about housing, financing, compassion, sensitivity, religion, because all of those things can be done at a summit. If you know where to go for your resources, you're more prone to give that person business. So in order to know where to go, we must first come together collectively and build that. And as a result of the summit, I think there should be a resource center available just for our community. Financed by the City of Baltimore.
Thank you. First, let me say thank you. Let's give each other a big round of applause. And the one thing that we should learn, and this is the one thing I want to help, this is about connecting. It's also about connecting to resources. You know, I told people when I first got elected that I can't do this work by myself, and I can't. And so I did a call to action. And as a result, you know, there are folks who come every other week to just meet with me to talk about things that they're interested in. The other thing that I knew was that the city couldn't do it by itself. So when you think about, you know, among many of my priorities is reducing violence. So I made Baltimore a Bloomberg city. I went out and raised $5 million privately because the city didn't have it, okay? And we've got all these great philanthropic organizations in this city, and we should be tapping into them. And that's a part of what this commission is about. It's how we connect you to those resources, because the city can't do it by itself. You know, when we think about all the efforts, you know, to work with people in our city, for example, what the Weinberg Foundation does in terms of just fixing roofs for seniors. Last year they put up $3 million just so we could fix roofs for seniors. We got the Casey Foundation, we got the Goldsecker Foundation. What we are supposed to do as your city leaders is to make sure you're connected. And so when, for example, we decided that we needed to have a jobs fair for everybody in the city, the homeless, whoever. And I charged my human resource department to put that together. I said the city can't afford to do it. And so we went out and got sponsors and raised money, and 4,000 people, including paying for the convention center. 4,000 people were summoned to the convention center, and we were able to hook them up with jobs. The same thing when I decided that we need to know where every single child in the city is when they graduate. So we had a jobs fair right here where over 100 companies came together to make sure that we hired our young people, and they sponsored it. So I just want you all to understand that my role as your mayor is to make sure you're connected. And when you talk about housing issues in the city, you're absolutely right. Respecting the rights of every single individual is important. Financial literacy is important. And there are programs that are available for first-time home buyers. We need to make sure that your community has access to that. You know, and a lot of what I'm hearing is there's so much that's going on that people don't know. And that's why this commission is important, because we're supposed to connect you. And that's my commitment, to make sure that we do that, that you have access. And again, this is our first coming together. I can't wait to see what we look like a year from now in terms of the brain power that's in this room, the energy, the thoughtfulness. You know, I just can't wait to see what happens. But we are committed to this commission. And so again, we look forward to sending out the survey, getting the feedback. But I can tell you, this feedback this evening was powerful and awesome. So thank you all for being here. There's still food out there. Some of you have not hit our hashtag booth. Please do. But again, give yourselves a round of applause. I am so proud to have pride for you. Thank you.